Welcome everyone to Creme 2 Plus. I'm Mark Hanrahan. He is one of the most inspirational people in the world. The former standout athlete from Spokane, beloved Coug football player, and longtime New Orleans Saint made his mark in athletics. But it's the work that Steve Gleason did after his ALS diagnosis in 2011 that landed him the nation's highest civilian honor. I traveled to our nation's capital back in 2020 when Gleason was presented with the Congressional Gold Medal.
As Speaker of the House, it is my honor to welcome Steve Gleason and his beloved family.
In the historic Statuary Hall at the U.S. Capitol, hundreds of people gathered to witness history. Steve Gleason, unable to move without a wheelchair, unable to communicate without a computer, awarded the nation's highest civilian honor.
If the definition of a hero is someone who takes a terrible situation and makes it better for everyone, that is Steve Gleason.
Some of our nation's most powerful political figures praised the Spokane native for his tireless work to advocate for ALS patients. Washington Senator Patty Murray said Steve's name is synonymous with hope.
And beyond his tremendous advocacy work, Steve has shown that no matter the challenge or obstacle, when we refuse to give up, there's nothing we cannot overcome.
Gleason was diagnosed with ALS 9 years ago after an 8-year career in the NFL. Despite his physical limitations, he has worked to give other ALS patients the technology and resources to live meaningful lives. And through the Steve Gleason Act, Congress assured that technology was available through Medicare. Gleason's former teammate and current NFL quarterback Drew Brees praised his tireless work.
There is no person on earth with the strength, courage, passion, and tenacity to overcome all obstacles and make the lasting impact that Steve has made.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy being in here.
Steve Gleason's wife, Michelle Varisco, said she was both overwhelmed and proud today. What does it mean for Steve and his mission with Team Gleason to continue to advocate for people living with ALS?
I mean, it's a tremendous amount. I think this, we just keep wanting to put ALS on the map, and I think this is going to be, I think this is going to help do it.
When it was time for Gleason to deliver his remarks, he thanked his family. And in true Gleason form, he delivered a message of hope and inspiration, saying human potential is boundless.
I suppose I don't see my story as a football story, or even an ALS story, but rather a human story. The truth is that we all experience pain in our lives. But I believe that the problems we face are our opportunity and define our human purpose. To the people of the United States of America, a nation I'm so proud to live in, for this unbelievable honor. Have a wonderful day.
Many years before he was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, many people came to learn Steve's story through a 2016 documentary called Gleason. Creme 2's Jay McCarthy traveled to Sundance for the premiere of the film.
Steve Gleason appears on the red carpet for the world premiere of the mesmerizing documentary of his life unraveled by ALS. While he poses for red carpet pictures, Steve leaves the talking to the rest of the cast and crew.
It's really exciting and humbling too.
I met him 13 years ago.
An incredible festival.
I knew Steve before when he was playing in the league.
Later, through his voice powered by technology, Steve tells me watching the finished film snapped him right back to the poignant moments unfolding across the screen.
For me, the entire film is an emotional experience. The footage is packed with struggle, perseverance, heartbreak, and joy. The viewers, including me, can't help but feel that.
Steve says he's humbled the film was selected to play on the prestigious Sundance screen. It's not something he would have dreamed when he was first diagnosed with ALS and started recording personal video journals for his unborn son.
The project has evolved into something much bigger, but it started innocently enough, as a way to share myself with our son Rivers. I have had so many people who have lost a parent tell me that they really don't have much from the parents they've lost.
Steve's love for Rivers emanates from the theater. What's more, Steve tells me he and Michelle have more than 27 hours of video journals and nearly 250 written journals for Rivers. It's a huge gift for his son, but there's a greater purpose for sharing his journey outside his family.
My hope is You understand that in the midst of adversity, we will find our greatest opportunities. We all face tragedy and adversity, but most often, that is where we find our power and meaning.
It's clear Steve has found new power and meaning, even as ALS mounts an unfair fight. Perhaps any of us in the middle of darkness can find some peace if we just search for that light.
Following the release of the documentary, Jane got the chance to sit down with Steve for an interview in 2017. The two talked about the work he had done up to that point, his love of the Pacific Northwest, and what he envisioned for the future.
It's good to see you.
Steve Gleason gracious enough to sit down with me to talk about everything from family and vulnerability to what I called the currently hot inland Northwest weather.
You don't know anything about hot.
Probably true, especially when comparing our hot, not very humid streak to a sticky New Orleans summer.
New Orleans is my home, but my blood flows with the mountains and rivers of the Northwest. New Orleans and Spokane are truly different in almost every possible way, but somehow I've found a way to fit in and love both of these amazing communities. This 2017 Northwest trip has been our most awesome trip thus far. I love sharing my roots with Michelle and our son Rivers. The Northwest, the people and the region have shaped me and helped me become the person I am today. It's nourishing to be here, and I'm excited about the years that are ahead.
Looking to the years ahead, Steve tells me he envisions a happy life, brimming with purpose.
Do you have a next big project that you're working on?
We are always working to expand and improve technologies for people with ALS and other disabilities. Making the iDrive system I use universally available is a priority, but we continue to work on more seamless ways to communicate, better mobility, expanding eye tracking to other technologies and more. I wish I could reveal everything, but Jane, it's not in your job description to keep a secret.
This is true. I've spoken with a lot of local ALS patients, and they have repeatedly told me that your example really helps them in their own lives. This comes up time after time. What would you have to say to those people today?
Steve's answer, it turns out, is decidedly relevant for anyone within earshot.
As humans, our greatest strength is sharing our weakness with each other. This is a challenging, yet powerful notion. So, I think a good exercise for any human is to ask yourself, are you brave enough to be vulnerable? Are you tough enough to reveal your weakness? Do you have the courage to be imperfect? In the case of an ALS patient, do you have the courage to be wildly imperfect, at least from a physical standpoint? For most, that is some scary exploration. The uncharted territory of vulnerability. This is where we can discover and apply our purpose, which makes us uniquely human.
And you can't talk about Steve Gleason's story without talking football. Steve got his start right here in Washington and followed up with one of the most iconic plays in NFL history while playing for the New Orleans Saints. In 2017, the Gleason family invited Creme 2 to follow along as Steve got ready for game day.
Who's ready?
Inside Steve Gleason and Michelle Verisco's New Orleans home,
Well, you better get ready.
the stockings are hung in salute to the kind of cheerful chaos only the holidays can bring. Don't be fooled by the sword fighting. This is a welcoming bunch.
Hi, I'm Jane.
Jane and Derek.
Hi. Hi, good to see you.
Although I'm a guest, it feels a bit like I've been here before. If you watched the Gleason documentary, powerful and highly personal, you'd likely feel that familiarity here too.
Vinny, hold yours up a little more.
Plus, who can't relate to the struggle of trying to corral the whole crew into a festive greeting?
Everybody say Merry Christmas. 1, 2, 3.
But this isn't just Christmas card day, it's game day too.
Hi, Steve. Good to see you.
Steve tells me what he loves most about Saints Game Sunday.
Game days are mostly about having fun and creating memories with Rivers and Michelle.
Michelle and Steve married in 2008. Then came now 6-year-old Rivers, named after the peaceful rivers of the inland Northwest Steve grew to love when he was a child himself.
Spokane and the Inland Empire are where my roots were formed. I'm confident that I am the person I am today, because I was raised in the Northwest. I miss the area every day.
And as he loads up with family and friends on the way to the Superdome,
cold water.
we're reminded why Steve loves New Orleans too.
This is a unique city, and I've loved the city almost from the very beginning of my time here 18 years ago. There are so many things to love about New Orleans, but ultimately, I love this place because of the people who live here.
And we quickly learn the feeling is intensely mutual. What do you think he means to this city?
Oh, hope, faith and hope.
They're excited to come up to him, and Steve's the great type of person where he'll always give them the time of day.
Hi there. Happy Sunday. How you doing?
I love Steve Gleason. I love him.
We have that love covered from all angles at the recent Saints-Panthers game. Well, we lost one of those angles, actually, when Rivers got a hold of our GoPro camera. Rivers just lost a tooth, by the way. He's kind of proud of it. Steve and Team Gleason are also proud to be the center of attention today. A local fundraiser drummed up $50,000 for Team Gleason to help people with ALS live a better life now and search for a cure for the future.
But he's done so much good for people. So he took a lemon and made it lemon drop.
Steve's unique brand of inspiration translates into another beloved Gleason game day tradition. Fans know when Steve starts heading toward the tunnel, he's about to greet the Saints players right before they take the field.
People just cheer for him and, go Steve, we love you, Steve, no white flags.
A lot of Saints fans tell me it was that first game back after Hurricane Katrina in the Superdome here when they fell in love with Steve Gleason. And a lot of them, when they talk about that game today, they still get emotional.
He was a big inspiration to me, as well as a lot of other people in the city of New Orleans after Katrina. The first game back in the Dome was very emotional for all of us. I mean, a lot of us were still in trailers. We hadn't had a place to live.
The people of the city still tender and recovering at the time. That's when Gleason flies out of nowhere to block a punt returned for a Saints touchdown.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes! Yes!
It lifted a city in a time of suffering, a moment that 10 years later still conjures up chills.
He's such a hero to all of us in the city, especially after Katrina. And we show him the sign every game. So we're glad he's here, sharing it with us.
It was just amazing, and he was the reason that we all came together again and realized we had to do what we had to do, and we had to get to it.
We had to do what we had to do, and we had to get to it. That's what the people of New Orleans did then, and what Steve did years later when diagnosed with ALS.
No white flags.
It's good to see you here. We've learned Steve isn't about to give up, even in the face of ALS. His mom tells me that's the way Steve was born. But I'm willing to bet a little of New Orleans has rubbed off on Steve, too.
This city breeds and attracts unique, outrageous people, innovative people who see opportunity where others see chaos, persistent people who rebuild when their city or their lives fall apart, fierce people who protect what they love, and love a great deal.
They love and are clearly loved by this guy. It seems the kid from Spokane ended up exactly where he needs to be.
Before his days in the NFL, Steve spent his college days with the Cougs. In 2017, Washington State University honored him with the prestigious Distinguished Alumnus Award.
Please give a big Coug welcome to Steve Gleason. Come forward and receive your award.
Despite being a two-star athlete, Washington State was always so much more than sports for Steve Gleason.
But I think what makes my experience at WSU so incredible is the memories that have nothing to do with athletics.
Gleason's time in Pullman was necessary for what was about to come in his life.
Naturally, part of the reason for receiving this award is because of how I've handled ALS. Part of why I've been able to handle ALS is because of my experience here at WSU.
The love for Washington State is a symbiotic relationship, which is why it was a no-brainer for Gleason to receive the highest form of recognition from the university.
I hope that it serves as inspiration to our current students, that they say, hey, I can go here, I can get a WSU degree, and I can go out and literally change the world.
Friend and former teammate Grady Emerson says the Gleason we know today is the same Gleason he knew 20-some-odd years ago.
He would be on this stage today, ALS or not. He's on to bigger and better things always. It's just a part of his being and who he is, and this place definitely had fostered that as well.
I'm interested in what you can do for people that cannot help you in return.
Gleason's selflessness in the face of adversity is why he's on the stage today.
No white flags, and go Cougs.
And that's why the Crimson and Gray nuzzles nicely next to his creed for the rest of time.
Whether making tackles at Wazoo or at Gonzaga Prep, Steve is one of the best athletes to come out of the Inland Northwest. And in 2017, he was honored with his induction into the Inland Northwest Sports Hall of Fame.
Our first inductee today, Steve Gleason.
Steve Gleason was instrumental on championship teams at Gonzaga Prep and Washington State University. He was outstanding as an athlete in both baseball and football, too. He was twice the Greater Spokane League's defensive MVP at G-Prep and broke the league's single-season home run record. He went on to play football with the New Orleans Saints. That's where Gleason triggered one of the most dramatic moments in franchise history, blocking a punt that led to the first touchdown in the Superdome after the devastation of Hurricane Katrina. When Steve was diagnosed with ALS in 2011, he quickly became the heart of the battle against ALS on behalf of all people living with the disease. He works to connect people with ALS to resources to improve their lives. Steve lives with his wife and son in New Orleans, so traveling for him is a huge undertaking. He did, however, record a video speech for the crowd tonight.
Fortunately, my time in high school, at Gonzaga Prep, and at WSU, I was able to develop as a person beyond athletics, or, at least, in parallel with athletics. I was taught perseverance when faced with adversity. I learned to be resilient after defeat. I was taught to think for myself, which disgruntled my parents to say the least.
And he says, I was taught to think for myself, which disgruntled my parents to say the least. Is that true?
No, I always encourage him to think for himself, and that's what made him the kind of person that he is. The fact that he learned early on to make good choices.
Steve Gleason continues to work to improve the lives of ALS patients, with much of that work being done right here in the Inland Northwest. In 2021, the Steve Gleason Institute of Neuroscience opened a new adaptive technology center right here in Spokane. Laura Papetti takes us inside.
The irony is not lost on us that a road closed sign is positioned in front of a building that is about providing better access. The Steve Gleason Institute for Neuroscience opened a new adaptive technology center this week. An unassuming gray building at the corner of Grant and Sprague is housing some big ideas and life-changing equipment. It's an interactive center that features home automation products that can be controlled through voice or eyes. And on its opening day for a media tour, it may have already changed some of those lives for the better.
Wow, who thought this one up?
We'll get back to that story in a moment. But first, the Steve Gleason Institute for Neuroscience is named after the former WSU and NFL player who has ALS.
Doing the impossible and changing lives is to live impossible.
Basic tasks for ALS patient Mike Springer are challenging. Communication is nearly non-existent.
Because he doesn't have any independence right now.
Mike's wife Linda and daughter Kim are by his side as they tour the new adaptive center.
We want them to come here and have a safe environment to try this out.
The center shows families different technologies being developed to help restricted patients live, work, and communicate, from building better bathrooms to gaming stations. Technology that is being developed here in the Inland Northwest that has far-reaching implications. For Mike and his family, those implications are close to home. A device that is developed to read hand motion is placed on Mike's eyebrows, one of the only areas on his body he has movement. A small twitch of an eyebrow
If you do an eyebrow twitch right now, there you go. Wow.
can give Mike a way to communicate.
You want to give me another eyebrow? There you go.
Wow. This would give him back communication. He could text his friends. He could know what's going on in the world.
Yeah, that works.
The Adaptive Center is part of the Steve Gleason rally call to live life beyond limitations and for people like Mike to do what was once the impossible.
You want to give me another eyebrow? There you go.
Thank you for watching our special highlighting Steve Gleason's story. You can find much more of our coverage on our website, krem.com.